All right, audio recording. Should you buy or skip the Marshall Monitor 3s? These were a big surprise for me, and although they look basically the same as their predecessors, as soon as you try them on, you instantly notice some pretty big improvements to their comfort and features, but also one big downgrade, at least for me. Out of the box, these $329 headphones sound pretty neutral, but with a quick EQ change, you'll get that more signature, punchy, or bright sound that you may prefer depending on what you're listening to. I'm actually using these way more than their predecessor, but here's everything you need to know before considering getting them. The first reason you're going to want to buy the Monitor 3s is that Billy Joe Armstrong wears them. Well, okay, maybe. But the other big one is the improved design and comfort. A downside with the predecessor, the Monitor 2s, which have actually been rocking for the past year, is that they felt quite heavy and tight, especially after a few hours of wearing them. This year's Monitor 3s fixes that. They're lighter at just 8.8 ounces versus 11.3, and they have a redesigned headband that distributes that weight a lot better. They also have some of the plushiest ear cups. I mean, look at that, they're like pillows. These aren't just super comfy to wear, they actually help conform to the shape of your head and ears to improve the seal, which minimizes the amount of noise leak both from the outside world and spilling out from your headphones. The Monitor 2 already had very impressive battery life, but taking things even further, the Monitor 3s have more than double the battery life. It now gets up to 70 hours with ANC or 100 hours without, and that's up from 30 hours with ANC and 45 hours without on the Monitor 2s. To make this possible, Marshall made a few changes. First, the audio drivers are a little bit smaller. They're now 32 millimeters instead of 40. Smaller would suggest worse performance, but I haven't noticed it even in the low end. Marshall actually tries to point out that with the improved fit and positioning, along with better adaptive audio, it actually might be a little bit better sounding, but again, I can't tell the difference. But importantly, they're less power hungry. So tied in with those smaller drivers, some other simplified internals, including one that I'm not happy with, they now have more space to add in a second battery into the other ear cup. And besides extending the runtime, it also gives it a more balanced feel on your head. You could argue that no one needs battery life this long, especially when you can charge them overnight or the next day. Sure, but have you ever taken a pair of headphones on a week-long trip and never had to charge them the entire time? Now, when you eventually do need to recharge though, these smaller batteries actually charge faster with a 50-minute charge, giving you 12 hours of play with ANC. So that's what, like 40 minutes of playback within a 60-second emergency charge. It's pretty clutch, right? While the Monitor 3s look mostly unchanged from last year, that's a good thing in my book. Something that continues to be one of its biggest selling features, setting itself apart from almost every other high-end consumer wireless headphone, is how rock solid these are. You've got that retro rock and roll influence that's carried over from Marshall's amp DNA, which we see in this basically scratch-proof design. These are built like a tank. You can toss them around. They're not going to really show anywhere except for maybe the ear cups if you cut them. Carried over as well, we see the joystick controls for playback and volume control making a return, as well as dedicated buttons for ANC, as well as an M button that lets you quickly launch Spotify or your voice assistant, as well as its new soundstage. This is their take on spatial audio, which widens your tracks. It does an all right job, but it probably won't blow you away if you've tried some of the best. Anyways, I think physical controls work a lot better than touch controls like you'll find on my Sony 1000W XM4s, and these headphones focus on being practical rather than gimmicky. New for this year, they're also including a hard shell case with this nice red velvet interior and a pocket at the top for your cables. But at least for me, I think it kind of takes away from the whole point of these headphones being super compact and just easy to throw in a bag on their own. I don't really need a case, but it's cool that they did include one without jacking up the price. As I've been hinting at, as great as the Monitor 3's improved design and performances, it actually introduces one pretty big downgrade. It ditches the 3.5mm headphone jack. The 3.5mm jack is becoming increasingly more niche every year, and there's a good chance this entire section doesn't even apply to you, but I mean, there's still a real need for it in certain situations. Off the top of my head, I can think of three. Using these to play instruments without Bluetooth latency, monitoring audio from like this camera here, which doesn't have Bluetooth, or the classic, using it on a plane, which how else are you going to play your audio? And sure, yeah, they've included this 3.5mm to USB-C adapter, which at times gets the job done. Whether you're like me and you're constantly losing this or you're encountering audio interference, it's just not as convenient as having a dedicated 3.5mm jack built into your headphones. But even if you've managed not to forget this cable, it's worth mentioning that it's still going to drain your Monitor 3's battery, as the headphones need to be powered on. Even though these charge super fast and last for a long time, I can't count the amount of times where being able to use my other wireless headphones with their 3.5mm jack, even while they were dead, has come in super handy. The Monitor 3's design is pretty timeless if you ask me, but I know a lot of people who personally just won't vibe with this as much as I do. This one's kind of minor, but you can only get this into one color, and the combination of retro and black isn't everyone's thing. I get that. Maybe you prefer something that's a little bit more modern or shiny, like say the AirPods Max or even the Sony XM5s, rather than the ruggedness of the Monitor 3s. That said, the Marshalls. That said, the Marshall headphones have their own following, and when I see strangers rocking these out in the wild, we give each other a nod of approval because we're cool like that. Okay, maybe that's just me. Finally, while the Monitor 3s have improved significantly with their ANC and their pass-through modes, I think they're still trailing behind Sony and Bose, which have been doing it better for longer. Other high-end models usually can also auto-adjust the level of noise cancellation depending on your environment, and can also detect when you're speaking to auto-pause the music or lower the volumes of your headphones. As of now, these are features that are completely missing from the Monitor 3s. It's only once you try and get to use these conveniences on other headphones that you'll miss them here, but considering that there are a number of other headphones at a similar price point that also have them built in, the monitors still have room to improve. So, buy or skip, the Marshall Monitor 3s is a buy from me. I already used the Monitor 2s almost every day for making content one way or another, and now their successor is about better in every single way except, that 3.5mm jack, which does suck. But aside from that, they are way more comfy, and I think they're one of the most comfy headphones that I've tried. They've also got some of the best battery life in the class, not to mention they have more effective ANC and pass-through, which I think is actually worth using now. But let me know what you think. You can find us everywhere at Tom's Guide, and you can follow me to see what other cool tech I'm testing. Until the next one, catch you later.